Welcome to Connecting to Spirit with Stacey, a weekly journey into the spiritual world with evidential medium Stacey Niedenthal. With nearly 10 years of experience offering transformative private, group, and platform readings, Stacey is also a passionate mentor, guiding students for over 5 years to unlock their intuitive gifts. She is the author of 2 impactful books, My Head Knows, But My Heart Still Hurts, a 30-day grief recovery journal, and My Crystal Addiction Diary, an exploration of crystal and stone energy for healing. So please welcome the host of Connecting to Spirit, Stacey Niedenthal.
Hi, and welcome to Connecting to Spirit. I'm your host, evidential medium Stacey Niedenthal. I'm so glad that you're here tonight to be able to join in with me and a friend, other evidential medium, Scott Allan, who'll be joining us here in a second. But it's a time where we get together for 1 hour every night to talk about things that maybe you're not comfortable in talking to other people about when it comes to mediumship or the spirit realm or meditation. So that's basically what our hour is about tonight. And we're going to talk to an evidential medium, Scott Allan, who has just authored his first book, and it will be out very soon. So, Scott, thanks so much for joining me.
Hey, Stacey, how are you? Good to see you again.
Good to see you again. We've been swapping podcasts here back and forth.
We
It's
have.
been nice to get to meet you a little or know you a little bit more. Scott and I
Yeah.
are both in I guess a mentorship program that artist Joe Shield facilitates. And Scott, you've got this new book coming out, and you also collaborated in another book. Is that correct?
I did. I did. It's funny. I've been working on my book for about 4 years, and I finally sent off all the approvals today. So it should be online, I think, at Barnes and Noble and a few other places within the next week and a half or so. And then print copies, I don't know what that, be shortly thereafter, I guess, however long that takes. But I can't believe we're at the end of the road. The other one kind of came sort of unexpected. This is a book, there's a lot of well-known people. Tony Robbins is among them, that is contributing to this other book. It's called 365 Days of Abundance. And they asked me, they had a few dates left because it's one a day for an entire year. And they asked me if I would write something about abundance and how it might relate to mediumship. And so I did, and now it's in that book as well. So it's kind of exciting. You have 2 of these things happening
Oh,
at the
that's
same
it. It's
time.
very exciting. It's
Yeah.
very exciting to
Yeah.
have. And once you get that book in your hand, I remember how long it took me to write the first book and, getting through all the editors and all the, everything. Oh my gosh, this
I
is
know.
the wrong page or this is backwards. And then when it finally comes in the mail and you're like, oh my gosh, it's here, it's here.
I know. I know. I'm really looking forward to it. It's been a long process. And it wasn't days and days, years and years of full on writing. I mean, you stop for a little bit and then life gets away with you and then you come back to it and not really sure it would ever really come to fruition. But it did. And people were telling me, you need to write this stuff down. This is when I was opening up, really. I started making like notes and what's
Right.
happening to me. And this is what happened today. Not thinking it would actually be anything other than notes.
Right.
And then I
Well,
started
I
to
mean,
look at it and I thought, gee, it looks like something. Yeah.
when you and I talked the other day, this is kind of like a biography of how you started. You want to, give us just a little intro of who you are and how you did get
Yeah.
started and, kind of what the
Yeah.
book's about, or, as much as you want to give everybody as far as who is Scott Allan, evidential medium.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, the book is a little bit of everything for everybody, So it started out, it is an autobiography, but it starts out as a young child because I was a funeral director for 30 years or so. And, it sort of takes you on that journey and brings you through my childhood. What was the catalyst for that? And also, I had a friend pass away when we were 20 and he died of cancer, and we had been friends for a
Oh,
long time. So there was a lot of that was going on that I think sort of propelled me into that field to serve and to, I felt like I was more empathic, which clearly I was. And then when I started to open to spirit, it became more of a ghost story. So it sort of switches to that, although it's all part of it. It was all sort of intertwined and mixed together, but I didn't know what was happening to me. And we talked about this the other day when you and I chatted on my podcast.
Right.
You feel like you're losing your mind. And they were talking to me through the radio and on recordings and I mean, crazy stuff that I had never, ever experienced before. And then it comes into the awakening, the realization that this is not a haunting, but rather an invitation to serve and to be there for spirit. That's what the book is about. And that really is
And
the
what is the
story of
name of
who
the
I
book?
am. The book is called In the Presence of Light, A Funeral Director's Journey from Mourning to Mediumship. And that's only like the fourth or fifth title I came up with over the last 4 years that I was thinking of. It's like back and forth and back and
Right.
forth. But when it was right, it just felt right for me. And it's that is my story. And I am a funeral director at heart. That's what I do. It's what I've always done. I've served people who are grieving, and to a certain extent, I still do.
Still are.
I served the grieving because of the loved ones that they'd lost. Now those loved ones are coming back and talking to me. So now I'm serving the grieving again because of the loved ones that are on the other side. But it was all practice. It was a practice run for the whole thing that I'm doing now. And it really was kind of cool. I'm just, when you look back at it in totality, it's just amazing how it all sort of fell in together.
Right. Well, there's always a reason why. And we're
Yeah.
on this constant journey of learning and gaining wisdom and knowledge so that we can be at the right place at the right time with the right amount of information to learn more information, to be at the right place at the right time to learn more information.
Yeah.
But you went
Yeah.
literally from serving spirit with the living to now serving the living with spirit.
Yeah.
So, you have both ends of the spectrum there, and I think it's amazing to
Although
do
it's
that.
so funny, Stacey, and I want to point this out because I really feel like it's just the opposite. I served the living and had no awareness of the deceased because they were gone. I really just served them because they had lost a loved one, and I helped them navigate that road. But you know as well as I do, when you do a reading, you only give the family or the loved one what the spirit will give you, and it's not because they have something to say to their loved one in spirit. It's because the loved one in spirit has something to say to them. They come to us, and if they don't come to us, we don't. We can't make them come. I mean, that's just how it is. So I really feel like it's just sort of swapped. Today I feel like the one I really serve is the spirit,
Right,
even
right.
though the family
But
pays
in
the
both
bill.
right,
That's kind of
but
how
in
it
both
is.
instances
Yeah.
in both instances, you were still serving spirit and serving the
Yeah.
living. Just
Yeah.
now you're doing it on opposite ends of the spectrum.
Absolutely.
And
It's the same people.
I feel as though you being a funeral director for so many years, would have tapped you into the spirit world when you were, preparing. Had you ever had any experiences where, as a funeral director, before you opened up to spirit, where you thought, boy, what was that? And I know you told me something about you heard your voice or you heard,
Yeah.
was it the name Daniel or something like that?
David.
And you actually
David.
recorded it.
I was already out of the funeral business at that point by the time David came and I
Oh,
started
okay.
hearing my voice and hearing things. I was out of the funeral home. But I'll tell you two interesting stories. There were synchronicities through my entire career, even going back. Oh God, I remember the first one. I was probably about 18 years old, and we were getting. I was working at the funeral home. I mean, I started working there when I was 16, just mowing lawns and cleaning cars and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
And I was probably 17 or 18. We got a call that there had been an unattended death in the projects in the city here. And he asked the police had called, and the funeral director that owned the funeral home said, "Would you come with me?" And I said, "Sure, I'll go with you." And so we went, oh, we were getting ready to go. And I went downstairs to throw a suit on. And I said to him, I said, how do they know that he's really dead? Like, I'd never done this before. And
Right.
he was this big, tough guy that stormed the beach of Normandy in World War II. I mean, he was like no nonsense. And he
Oh,
just
God
said,
bless.
just get your suit on. I don't know. They do whatever they do, and that's it. But I couldn't get it out of my head. So he came down to check on me, and I was just putting my shoes on, and I said, "Yeah, do you think the medical examiner came down already, or do you think it was an ambulance?" He says, "Geez, I don't know. They're waiting for us. Let's just go." I don't know. I had no idea. You worried? Ask them. That kind of thing, right? So he pulls the car out of the garage, and I walked through the garage to get to the car. And as I walked towards where the phone was, it rang, and I answered it, and they said, "This is the police department. Don't come. We found a breath." He was alive. And I went,
Oh, he was alive.
"Oh, that is
Oh,
wild." But, I'm not sitting there thinking, "Oh, I guess I must be psychic." I was
I
thinking, "Oh,
knew
what a weird
that.
coincidence." No, I didn't. I thought, "What a weird
Right.
coincidence." And he never even acknowledged it. He was just completely blind to the whole thing. Probably several months later, I'll never forget this. We got called out in the middle of the night to go to a nursing home. And it was a husband and wife that were in the same room together. They had gotten
Mhm.
older. They couldn't take care of themselves. And rather than be separated, they were together. Um, the husband had passed. The wife was still there. And she said her goodbyes. And they took her and they wheeled her down the hall to wherever they put her. And the nurse came in and I said, "Do you have his glasses and teeth? We want to take them with us." And she said, "Yep, they're in that dresser over by the window." And I went and I picked them up. And opened it up, and there they were in the drawer. And I pulled them out, and I'm hanging on to them. And I said, "Hey, quick question: how do you know they're his? How do you keep them separate?" That's what it was. How do you keep them separate? And she said to me, "Well, that's his bureau or his nightstand, and this
Right.
is hers, and we're just very careful about where we put them when they don't have them in their mouth. We take them, clean them, and put them in the right drawer." So I said, "Okay." We got back to the funeral home and I've got him and I was like, something's not right with this. You know how you just get that feeling like, I
No.
don't know.
Mhm.
Something's not right. But nobody called, nobody said anything. I mean, it was just, it was just business as usual. We went on with it. So she comes in, they come in for the calling hours, and um, we greeted the family as they walked in, and they were wheeling the mother in a wheelchair up into the funeral home.
Oh,
And she recognized me from going there the night, back in the evening. And she took my hand and she looked at me and she smiled. And I was looking at the Grand Canyon. There were no teeth. I mean, it was this big black hole.
were her teeth?
And she smiled and she says, "You're not going to believe this. They gave you my teeth and not his." And I went, "Oh my God." And I turned around. I didn't know whether to laugh, cry, or what. It was the
Yeah, what do
weirdest
you do?
thing.
What do you do?
Nothing,
What do you
nothing. It's
do?
done. I'm like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
you just
what do
smile
you
and
do?"
nod.
I can't grab him out of his mouth and give him to her. I mean, it was just weird. It was the weirdest thing. So things like that would happen. I would think about someone, gee, I haven't heard of, Mary Smith in forever. I wonder what happened to her. And then I get a call that she died. And that will still happen to me sometimes. Geez, I'll think of some
Mhm.
random person that I used to know when I had the business. And I wonder whatever happened to them. And then I pull up the obituary and there they are. Like I would go like on the local newspaper and because I still check it from time to time to see because I knew a lot of people. And there they are. And I think, why is that happening? Why did that happen to me a lot? And it was a sort of a standing joke. People would say to me, "Do me a favor, don't think about me when I'm gone. Just like forget about me,"
Right,
because
right,
everybody you think about dies. I mean, it's not a good thing.
right.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
it's
crazy how those things kind of pop to our heads and unfortunately we have to take a quick break right now, but
yeah.
I want to talk more with you about that, Scott, and everybody, don't click off the podcast. Stay with us because
Yeah.
we've got a lot of exciting things to talk about, but we'll be right back in a few minutes after these messages.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success, as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers, as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network, and tune in radio as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com.
Welcome back to Connecting to Spirit. I'm your host, evidential medium Stacey Niedenthal, and I have the pleasure of talking with another evidential medium, Scott Allan. Scott, I so appreciate you joining us this evening. Before we went to the break, we were just, talking about your book and, having been a funeral director and things like that. But I wanted to kind of delve into what to me is really important in a medium, and that's, being
Right.
authentic, and the
Yeah.
integrity behind it. And I know I've talked on several podcasts and on several of my lives about, what happens or what to expect from the medium, what to expect when you go to a medium and how to prepare. But I thought it
Right.
would be kind of fun to talk about how we see it on our end. You know, what, because everybody sees that, the mediums on TV and, oh, what do you see? What's around me? Who's here? And,
Right.
teaching people or educating people, it doesn't always work that way.
It
So
doesn't.
what, what would you say if someone said to you in a reading, what's important for you as the medium to be able to do like the best reading possible? What are the do's and what are the don'ts? Like what
Yeah.
drives you crazy or what like connects you better?
Don't tell me what they're supposed to be telling you, because I think you're taking that away from them, right? I've had people, if I've said, "Oh, I have a woman here and she's coming through. She's not a mom, or she feels more like an aunt," using this as an example. And oh my God, she's telling me she was a nurse. Oh my God, that's my Aunt Betty. Do you know she died at the hospital that she was working at for all those years? She had cancer. It was a terrible thing. She sat there for 9 months, and wait a minute, wait a minute. She's supposed to tell you that. Let's don't you tell me, because it really is, to me, so subtle. It's the way that I receive my messages primarily is it's like they put a thought into my head that's not mine.
Yes,
If I said to you,
correct.
Stacy, milkshake, right? You know what a milkshake looks like. You can picture it. You can understand it,
Mhm.
but you don't, you don't, you don't necessarily, well, you didn't necessarily think about it at that moment, right? So why did you just think of a milkshake, other than the fact that I told you that? It's the same way. How did I know she was a nurse? Well, I don't know. I don't know anything about this woman, but somehow they just showed me what looked like the nurse's hat, put the thought in my head, she's a nurse. It can come to me in a number of different ways. There's all these clairs that we have: clairvoyant, clairsentient, claircognizant, clairaudient, we know them. sometimes it's a combination of many different things. So you can't share those kinds of things with me because I can't decipher whether it's my own information or if it's information that's
Yes.
given to me. But I need validation, and validation is the big thing. I need to know if I'm on the right track. So you can tell me, no, you're not. I don't understand that. Or yes, I do. But I need to know that. And I need to have it verbally. That's the other thing. I need a lot of times I'll stand in my, the large shows and I'm like, folks, speak up. Let's all sing
Talk
happy
to me.
birthday. Come on. I gotta get the energy up because
Mhm.
there are certain things that I need, and keeping the vibration and the energy up is a big, big thing.
Yeah, exactly. I often tell my clients it's almost like I'm playing charades with spirit.
Yes.
One word, three syllables, and then I have to figure out and maneuver what they're trying to say to me. And I totally understand, you say, "Oh, I've got this woman here. Oh, that's my mom. She died of cancer 10 years ago." Whoa. All I know is it's a woman right now. Hold on, hold that thought for a second. And we get signs and symbols that as we do mediumship, we automatically know what that is. But then there are times that something pops in and when you said about the word milkshake and you say to the person milkshake and the person goes, "No, not milkshake, but cherry pie." No, no, it's
No,
not
I
cherry
can't
pie,
make
it's
a
a
cherry pie a
milkshake.
milkshake. Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Right, exactly. So it's the integrity part behind it. And you and I have both seen mediums or heard of mediums that kind of either fish for information or they sway into what their client is telling them. And I've had, and I know you've probably had too, when someone comes in and I say, "I have this mom figure here, and she's this, this, and this. I didn't want to talk to mom. I need to talk to my dad." And my dad's name was Troy. Okay, well, hold on. Let me ring Troy a second. you
Hold
know,
on. Do you have his
we
number?
we
I'll call him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, right. And I mean, and there are sometimes if I've got this link to mom and I can give you the information and the message from mom, that I can say, "Okay, mom, your daughter really wants to hear from dad. Can you go get dad?" Most of the times I can get dad, but boy, I mean, there's no guarantee, you
And the
know?
problem is, if you already know you're looking for dad, it puts you in that thinking brain. We call it the left brain, but it's the thinking brain, right? I feel like that
Mhm.
information for me has to come very organically and just come out. I've had people sit with me and say, I only want to talk to my father. I only want to talk to my husband or my whatever. I think, oh my God, now the pressure's on, and I'm no longer just channeling whatever comes in. I'm like, is there a father here? Is there? You're thinking as opposed to channeling, and that's never a good thing either. It's so subtle.
No, and I tell my clients, if there is one particular person that you want to come through, bring me a photo where I can see their eyes. And I'll try to pull their energy through psychometry. But again, there is no guarantee because, God forbid, dad doesn't have anything to say to you. Dad was a man of few words. I, I
Yeah,
can't make him speak to you,
they
you
keep
know?
their
Um,
personality. You know, if that's how they were in
yeah,
life, that's probably how they're going to come through. And they may have spoken to you, like Stacy. If your dad's in spirit, he may talk to you, but because he knows you and he's comfortable with you. But if I'm the go between, he may not want to share everything with me.
right, right.
It's just
I've
how it
had
is.
and I've had spirit come through and kind of stand in the background where I'm talking to one energy, and I said, "I do have this man in the background. I'm not sure who he is yet. I'm just going to validate that he's here, but I feel like he's just kind of watching to see how this works because he doesn't completely believe in this stuff or wouldn't have here. So he knows that he wouldn't just jump right in and talk to a medium." But I'm just going to put him on hold for a second. So I'm kind of making a little bit of a joke about it because dad might have been that person that was just like, mediums, no. Never speak to a medium, never. So he wouldn't immediately maybe come through, but he might stand in the foreground and say, "Let me see what's going on here first, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I've
So
had people
what are
come through that like open the door for them. When I say open the door, I mean, that's obviously not. that's human experience, but it's almost like Dad wasn't that type, but Ma was okay with it. So she's going to come through, and she comes in first,
first.
and he's like right behind
Hmm.
her, waiting. She lets him
Right.
in.
Right. It's yeah, and it just and it's so crazy to me still when I think, why me? What why is spirit talking to me? How can I best convey this message with as much truth and integrity and sincerity and empathy to truly do the service to spirit? And um it's always so important to me to validate spirit, to know that they have something to say, but I don't want to sway it to what you think they need said. I
Hmm.
told you about I had this woman that came in and her father came through and I knew how he had passed and the month that he had passed and his name and I gave her a childhood memory and then she said, "Well, my father told me before he passed um that if I went to a medium, he would, say my nickname or he would say what my favorite ice cream was. So unless he tells you that, it's not him." And I'm like, okay, so I told you his name, I told you this, and I gave you a mess or a memory from childhood, but because I didn't say Rocky Road ice cream, from
Right.
our standpoint, there's stumbling blocks sometimes,
Everything has to get filtered through our
right?
human brain. Even though we try not to use it, it's
Right,
still there. It's true.
right, right. Have you ever had any instances where someone played, I always call it Stump the Medium. I'm not
Well,
here
I'll
I'm
tell
not
you.
a party get truck, and I don't play
Yeah.
Stump the Medium.
No, and I'm not interested in that either. I had one recently, and
Mm,
I sent her home, and I gave her money back because I didn't want to even. It was difficult. She only wanted to speak to one person. She had no interest in giving me validation because that would give me. She didn't want to tell me anything, even whether I was right or wrong. Her son is with her now. He's a little boy. He's probably like 10. I'm sharing. I don't even remember whatever it was I shared with her, and he's like, "Oh yeah, 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 yeah," and she goes. I said, "Okay, we're done. We're done." Like, I need to
oh my
know.
gosh.
This is how this works. She didn't hit him. I'm just like, she's just like, Just stop. Don't say
No,
anything."
but still, like
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right. Oh, it's
And I
crazy.
thought, my
Yeah, I
God.
don't know why and I'm so thankful it is very few clients that are like that. I
Yes.
I have, I don't know, 1 out of 50, let's say, that, they don't wanna tell you anything. And even though I say to them, "I need validations just to know I'm on the right track." I did a blind reading for a company to be certified, and I couldn't see the person, and I didn't know their name, which was fine. It's not really a big deal. But I go quiet, and I said to her, "I might go quiet a couple times, but I'm still here." So I'm going quiet, and I'm trying to connect, and she's going on, in my ear. "Hello, are you there? Hello, 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 are you there?" And I'm like, "Hold on, I'm trying to connect." And I had her loved one come through. She didn't speak English very well. She spoke broken English, I guess I should say. And I had her brother come through. He felt wet. He felt like his lungs were filling up, and I saw this water behind him. And I asked her if that made sense to her. And she said no. And I kept seeing it, and it was stronger and stronger. Well, later when we finished, she said, "You didn't tell me that my brother drowned." I'm like, "I have your brother. His body feels wet. His lungs are filling up. There's water behind you." If she would have just said to me, "Yes, that makes sense," wouldn't have had to tell me anything more. Now, granted, I should have gone back to brother and said, "Why are you showing me this?"
Yeah, but
But
I
human
get
brain.
that, Stacey. I get that. But now you're in your left brain because she already told you no and you're going back. So are
Yes.
you getting the message from your own brain or is it coming from spirit? I feel like it almost has to come organically through and you get it the way you get it. I'll tell you, I had a situation just the other day. It wasn't like that, but this man had lost his life sort of through violence, and
Oh.
they didn't really know. They found him, but they didn't really know like why or what, any of that stuff. Like, why did this happen?
Mhm.
So Spirit shows me a dryer with a dryer vent. Now, the like the tube, the
Yeah,
like
I
the
know what you mean.
thing
I'm
that
just
comes
trying
out.
to, yeah.
Yeah, well, me too. And I'm like, okay, did he die in a laundromat or next to a laundry? I mean, so, and I'm
Right.
thinking to myself, I don't understand this. It's not my message. I always tell them that. I may never understand it, but hopefully you will. They're showing me a dryer. I don't understand it. Is it, I don't know if he died by a laundromat or what. She says, oh, no, no, no. But I get that because he had just left the dryer club.
Oh,
And I
okay.
thought, okay, that's good. And I had another one too, talking about a fender bender, and nobody had an accident. The next day, she calls me up. She's, "You're not going to believe this. My sister told me his boat was called the fender bender." I'm like, oh, now I get it.
Oh,
But I
yeah.
don't know
Now
that
you get it.
unless,
But yeah,
it's not for me to know. It's not for me to know.
exactly. No, we
Yeah,
just give you, I try and say as much as I see or hear or feel because the message is not for me. It's for my client. And
right.
on that note, we're going to take a quick break. And when we get back, let's talk about good readings
Let's
and
do it.
how blessed some of the ones that, blow our minds. And we're like, holy crap, what? So we'll be
Yeah.
right back with Scott Allan. Don't go away, and we'll see you in a few.
Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness: Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success, as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers, as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio, as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com.
Hi, and welcome back to Connecting to Spirit with Stacey. I've got my guest here, evidential medium Scott Allan. If you're just joining us, you've missed a lot of really great stuff. You can always watch the replay on YouTube or Bold Brave Media, Facebook, Spotify, and other streaming mediums. So, Scott, before we took the break, we were talking about almost like worst case scenarios on the side of the medium. When someone just doesn't trust the process, or they don't understand how mediumship works, or they are very skeptical. And I wanted to swing to the other side as well and talk about how blessed a reading
Yeah.
can offer. My husband often says, when people walk into my office, they seem very heavy, very, heavy hearted. And then when he sees them leave, all of a sudden, like there's like almost a skip in their step.
Yeah.
So I wanted to just, ask you, has there been a reading in your mind that just totally like blew your mind? There's times I watched John Holland. He was I was on a cruise with he and Anita Marjano last year, and when he was talking to this woman, he was like, "Oh, your husband plays this. It's not a flute. Is it a didgeridoo?" And it was. And he was like, drop the microphone. John Holland here, and he goes, "That blows my mind." Have you had a oh my gosh moment like that? I'm sure you have.
Yeah, I have, and I'm trying to remember all of them, but I had one just the other day that was kind of cool. So I had back-to-back readings, and when I always write, I have like a notebook with
Me
me
too.
when because sometimes things come out on the paper. Sometimes I don't even realize I'm writing. I guess it's maybe automatic writing or whatever. I don't know. But I'm
Mhm.
writing and I wrote fire, 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 right? I said, "Oh my God, I'm writing with the word fire." I said, I don't even know who it was that we were connected with. I said, "Did they have a fire or does that mean anything to you?" "No, nothing, nothing." I said, "How about," I think the name was Emily. Emily. No, I don't know who that is either. I said, "Okay, that's odd." I said, "Just take that with you because sometimes I'm misinterpreting and it may click later on."
Abs-
The next woman comes in and I said something about a spark. I said, "Oh, I'm getting like a spark." And she says, "I get that." She says, I don't remember who it was either. She says, that person had a fire in their house and it was started by a spark." And I said, wait a minute. You had a fire. Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. So I'm backing up the pages and I said, I'm wondering, this might be the same person, the same man that was with me. And I kind of had put him over here. So I said, yeah. I said, I wrote fire, fire, fire. I said, "Do you know Emily?" She says, "Yeah." I said, "Connected to the person with the fire?" "Yes." I said, "Okay, wait a minute. Hang on, hang on." And I'm like, okay, I'm getting two names. I'm getting Daniel and Brian. That's my sister and her boyfriend, Danielle and Brian. Okay, it's all connected. It's all connected to the fire. So that spirit, that loved one was there
They
waiting for
showed up too
her,
early.
showed up too early. And then he came back. I mean, good for him. He didn't take off too far.
Wow.
So that was one that was really cool. And another one was back in December. I had this public demonstration that I was doing, and I had a table right to the side of me here. There was a family, a group of people, and there was a nephew or godchild or something that was sitting there, and I was connecting with him with a friend who had passed in an automobile accident. And I kept hearing this name that was not an American name. And I kept getting it like, what is this sound? It was like, Shuang, Shuang, Shuang. And I just, okay, who is João? And the people across from him, the woman says, "Oh my God, that's my husband. He died 4 weeks ago today." I'm like, all right, he's coming in. And then there was whatever it was that was come in. But I thought, my God, a name like that, really? Like, it's not like Bob.
Right.
You know what I mean? But that blows my mind. It blows my mind, I think, as much as it blows their mind. I can't, for the life of me, you know, understand how that happens. I just don't know. I seem to be getting more names lately than I ever got before. I don't know. I never
You
used to
know,
get names.
I had an epiphany when we were up at the mentorship class in, I guess it was last May, because I had been working on names and names and names, and I got to get the name, I got to get the name. And all of a sudden, I had this epiphany. Why do I need to get this name? Do I need to get it for myself or do I need to get it for spirit? And I realized it was ego that was popping in there. Well, if I have the name, like they can't doubt that. And once I stopped, all of a sudden names started coming in. I think spirit was just saying to me, mm-mm, no, you want that so that you can prove to them you know what you're doing. We're gonna, hold the reins
It
there,
could be.
Stacy.
It could be. I used
Yeah,
to try to get a cause of death all the time. How did they die?
that usually
And
comes.
it does, but that was like, I got to get that first. And now I just sort of let
Oh,
it flow and it just kind of shows up. I feel like the more you let go, the better it
absolutely.
is. That is one of the things that I wish
Absolutely.
people would take, is that it really is very subtle. And we are limited. We're people, so we don't get an inside window to what's going on over there. You know what I mean? We really don't. They come and
Right.
they give us
Right.
whatever they give us, and that's it. But we're limited. We're not all knowing. We're not all powerful. We're not. It's not magic.
The
It's
great
it's it's
cognac.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Who was the one that was on? Who was the guy
Let's
that
see.
was Johnny Carson used to do him all the time? The great.
It's
He
the
used to have.
great, wasn't it the great Karnak or something?
Oh,
Ka-
maybe
Ka-
Carnac. I thought you said
Ka-
cognac. Yeah, maybe that
Karnak.
was him. Yeah,
Okay. Maybe I didn't say
it
Kona.
could.
Maybe it was
I don't know.
a Freudian slip
That could
there.
be it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But the big thing,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not like that. It's very, very, very subtle. And, I have to try to keep my brain out of it, actually, because that's when it's the best, you know?
Usually, usually when I get cause of death, I feel it. So if it's a heart
Okay.
attack, I get a pain in my chest. If it's lung or liver cancer, I get a pain in the back.
Yeah.
And one of the first readings that I did, I had this woman sitting across from me, and her husband had passed. And as I'm sitting there, all of a sudden, I felt like somebody kicked me in the shin, and I jumped, and I'm like, oh my God, a horse just kicked me. And I thought to myself, where did that come from? And she just like did one of these. I said, okay, tell me. And she said, on our first date, my husband at the time took me riding. He fell off the horse and fell behind my horse. And when he got up, my horse kicked him. And
Oh,
for like 3 days, I had a sore shin. I didn't have any bruise. I kept like looking and thinking, oh, there should be a bruise there. But I like jumped off my seat, like, oh my God. So I had to, say to Spirit, okay, you can give me but not like that. Like, take it away. You can take it away now. She
yeah.
validated it was a heart attack. Take the pain away. It's, it's wow sometimes. It
It is
really,
wow.
it
And
really
I
is.
don't usually get like the real I will sometimes get pressure in an area, like where's the problem? Sometimes I'll feel it like here, or I'll feel it, or I just kind of know I'm feeling it, but I don't get the pain. Karen that I work with will get it all the time. She'll feel, oh, I feel like my heart, my heart, my heart. And it's funny because sometimes I'll joke with we're doing a public demonstration and she's like, oh, my heart. I said, I swear to God, one of these days she's going to be on the floor having a heart attack and to be like, pay no attention. It's just spirit,
And it's just spirit. Yeah,
I
well,
mean,
exactly. And I've often thought that too. Like, okay, I've got this fluttering in my heart, which usually means that the problem, the person had some type of heart disease. And I think to myself, okay, my heart's fluttering. Is it them or is it me? You know what? I'm just going to
yeah,
go with it. And then when I say, okay, you can take that, if it's still fluttering, then we're going to have a conversation
right.
afterwards.
Because I'm
You
a
know,
medium, not a medic. And look, I mean, if you die, the good news is we can still talk to you, but it's still not a good day. We want to make sure
right?
that you're not sick,
Right?
Yeah, I don't
Right?
get it like
I
that.
Yeah, it's crazy. I usually just have the knowing like you do, like something just pops into my head, or I will see something. But usually cause of death, I'll get a pain somewhere. And if the person passed of an overdose, spirit talks through my hands because I'm a hand person, if you ever haven't noticed. But if someone passed of a suicide, as I'm bringing the person in, this is what I do. And then I know, or not a suicide, but of an overdose. And then I know that it was overdose. I don't feel the overdose. I have this. And I'll say, would you understand the person taking responsibility for the way that they passed? Yes, I would. Would you understand that some type of drugs were involved in the cause of the passing? Because it's so difficult sometimes to say it the right way because you don't know where the person is at that is in front of you.
Yeah, and
And I
sometimes I hate using the S word, the suicide word, because you know, I don't want to make it worse. Sometimes they know, and
right.
sometimes I'll give them a little out. Like this person seems to be taking responsibility. It doesn't necessarily mean that they committed suicide. They could have just done something crazy. It could have been one night they went out and
Joyriding.
tried something they never. Well, you know what I mean? Like, I like
Yes.
to give them a little out because I just if they say it and they're comfortable with it, that's great. But I'm not. I don't want to make it worse. Some people get really funny. I remember being in the funeral business. The medical examiner would put suicide occasionally on a death certificate.
Mhm.
I want that off. They would not have done that. You got to take that up with the medical examiner. I can't change that. People get funny with that stuff. So I don't know. I'm kind of like hypersensitive to
Yeah.
that. I just don't want to
Well,
hurt them more.
it's a hard situation to be in, having had dealt with that in my family and surrounding me. But it's strange how when I first started channeling and giving messages, people who took their lives would come to me. And I thought, you know what? Because I've been on the other side of it so much, I feel like that's why Spirit was like, you'll be able to handle this the right way. And one of my particular friends who had done that, like I would see his face coming from behind me, and I would know he was bringing someone through that had passed similar to him. But suicide is a difficult thing. Well, any type of death is a difficult, thing to talk about. And we as mediums don't want to change the verbiage of what we're hearing, but we also want to be sensitive to the person that's sitting across from us. So we're
Mhm.
gonna, take a quick break, Scott, and we'll be right back to finish up the hour. So, don't go away. We'll be right back.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success, as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers, as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network, and tune in radio as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com.
Hi, and welcome back to Connecting to Spirit with Stacey. I'm here with evidential medium Scott Allan. And, our hours going by so quickly. We've talked about, what the mediums feel on our end and, like mind blowing, instances that we've had. But Scott, I want to take the last, part of this segment and just talk about if someone wants to have a reading by you or they want to come and see you perform, you know, where are you going to be? How can they get in touch with you?
Yeah. So I read in, I don't know where your listeners are mostly, but I do my in-person readings in Massachusetts. I'm north of Boston in a town called Tewksbury. And of course, I do Zoom readings for people literally all over the world, from Australia, Denmark, and all over the United States. So that's fun, with the technology. I think COVID kind of made that a little more accessible to people. So
Yeah,
I do
right?
a lot of it, and there's no difference in the quality. A lot of people like to be in person, but I really think
Yes.
there's no quality from difference in quality. So those are my in-person readings. You can book them directly on my website, which is mediumscottallan.com, ALLAN. And if you don't do the internet very well, you're always welcome to call. My number is 978-488 0318. And of course, that's on my website as well. So you can reach me there, email me, whatever you like. I do a lot of public demonstrations. So I've got a bunch coming up. I am going to be in, where am I next? I'm in Derby,
Aren't you
Connecticut.
Florida? Oh, okay.
Well, actually, no, I
Sorry.
am in Florida next. That is the next one is Florida. I'm going to be in Naples, Florida. I'm leaving next Monday. And the event is the following weekend. I have a gallery demonstration in private readings in Naples, and that's through Light the Way Spiritual Center, or Center for Spiritual Studies. And you can check their website out if you want to get tickets to come down there. There are still some available. We're also doing a grief workshop down there as well, which I think will be really nice. I'm taking
Oh,
part in that.
interesting.
Yeah. And then when I come back, I'm with Shane at another one of our friend mediums. We are going to be in Derby, Connecticut, doing a demonstration there. And I have one that I'm doing with two other mediums called Spirit Talk Live on Stage. That's going to be in Peabody, Massachusetts. Got one coming up in Lebanon, New Hampshire. I just booked one in the town of Billerica, Massachusetts. I've got another one coming up in Fitchburg, Massachusetts, and another one at a metaphysical shop in Gloucester, Massachusetts. So I got a bunch of these things happening between now and April. Plus, I'm one of the featured mediums on Dark Echoes Paranormal, which is on Amazon Prime Video and also Paraflix Paranormal. And it's on some stations throughout Ireland. But if you wanted to see it here in the States, you can go on Amazon. The season hasn't been updated yet. So once they upload that, you'll be able to see it. And we start filming that for season 2 in February, which will be exciting. So, yeah, so I got a lot
And
of
then you
fun
have your
stuff
own
going on.
podcast as well.
Yes, my podcast is called the Enlightened Life Podcast, and that comes out every Thursday at 5:30 in the morning. It's not live. I record that, and each new episode comes out. I was doing a show live just like this through Pulse Talk Radio in the UK, and the gentleman that owned it died over Christmas. Very, very
Oh,
young, very sudden, and it's a shame because his wife had been very, very sick. And he had been taking care of her, and I don't even think he's 50 yet, to be perfectly honest with you. He just died very
oh.
unexpectedly. So it's such a shame. I don't know what's going to happen with that. But so now I'm focusing on the Enlightened Life, and I really do enjoy doing that. And you will be on the Enlightened Life, so you'll be able to see yours coming up. I think I updated it. I think it's coming up February 6th, if I'm not mistaken. It'll be out February 6th. So I'll get
Okay.
you the link so you can share with people.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
great. And maybe one of these days you and I can combine and, maybe you can come down here to Hip Gypsy
Yeah.
Emporium in PA and we can tag team
Love
and
that.
I'll come up to you, not a problem. Give me an
I'd love
excuse to
that.
get in the
And
car
I'm
and
sure
go.
you're in a school, so do you have room to do stuff right there? Do you have room for events at your location, or are
Yeah.
you? Oh, wow, that's nice.
We do gallery readings here. But 35 to 40 people is
Hmm.
the most comfortable. But we can even do, two separate nights if we need to.
Sure,
Um,
sure.
because it's such a small we call it the gym and cafetorium. It was the gymnasium, the
Yeah,
cafeteria, and the
yeah.
auditorium. When I walk, when I come in and there's 35 or 40 people, the energy, I mean, it's like right there. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
usually, kind of cap it off at 35 people and, now I'm better prepared when I walk in but you know what? The high energy makes for a great, oh, reading, for a platform reading. But we'll have to definitely book that. And, I'm so
Yeah, let's
excited that
talk
you were
about dates.
able to, yeah, to find time in your schedule to sit down and have a chat with me on Bold Brave Media Connecting to Spirit.
It'll be
And,
fun. And I am going to be in
yeah.
Colorado Springs, if anybody's out that way. That's the other one. I'm going to be doing an
Oh,
event with Carm in at the Antler Hotel in Colorado, and I believe that might be the first weekend in June, if I'm not mistaken. But that
okay,
hasn't nothing's been put
okay.
out yet. It's all still kind of in the works. But we've got the room. Everything's reserved. We just haven't really put the details out yet for that. But that'll
Yeah,
be on my website as well. All my events are on my website.
Yeah. And of course, for any of our listeners out there, if you own a venue and you're interested in booking a medium to come and do platform readings, you can reach out to either one of us. I'm sure one of us can figure it out, if not both of us, to come in and see you. Or if I do in-home shows as well, or in-home intimate readings as uh, well as I'm sure you do
I
also,
do.
Scott. So, you know. It's funny how, I guess it's not funny, but it's that thing that, spirit is only a whisper away and all you have to do is listen.
It's
You
true.
just have to
It's true.
listen. And we can all connect with them on the other side. You just need that little bit of a megaphone somehow, and you and I get to be the megaphone.
You get to be the megaphone. Yeah, and I love the public
Yeah.
demonstrations. I think that's where my
Mhm.
passion
Mhm.
is really. A lot of people are afraid, and I think I probably would have been years ago too, but I just
Yeah.
love it. I just love
Yeah.
it.
I was I had some fear at first, but my fear was, if I've got 35 people sitting here in front of me, I need to give each person a reading. I had to get
Right.
over that because I
It's
didn't want
not
to disappoint
possible. I
anyone.
know.
It's
I know.
not possible. But that
It
was that
isn't.
was kind of what my fear was. My fear was of disappointing those who walked away without a reading.
Right.
But I've
Right.
gotten over that, and, you know, had some unbelievable readings at times that have just blown my mind, and it warms my heart that, we're able to give that glimpse. It's not a replacement for grief, but it's
Of
that
course not.
validation to know the big question that everybody asks, is my loved one okay? Yes, they are.
And they are.
You're
And
not,
they are.
because you miss them. So,
Yeah.
Scott,
It's
it's been
true.
such a pleasure having you on Bold Brave Media here with me on Connecting to Spirit. Any final thoughts that you want to say? We've got, about 30 seconds until we have to end, but thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's just a real pleasure to be here and to talk with your listeners and your people. I enjoy what I do, and I know you enjoy what you do. We'll have to get together
Oh
and
my
put
gosh.
something together.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, Scott, so much for being here with us tonight on Bold Brave
Pleasure.
Media Connecting to Spirit. Everybody tune in next week, next Tuesday. I'm not exactly sure what we're going to talk about yet, but stop in and see us. This is Stacey Needhall. I hope that you all live the life you love and love the life you live. If not, you're the only one that can change it. I'll talk to you next week. Bye bye.
This has been Connecting to Spirit with Stacey. Tune in each week as Stacey delves into the journey of life, healing, and spiritual connection, inviting listeners to open their hearts, clear their minds, and create the life they love. Right here, Tuesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network, powered by B2 Studios.